All right, buckle up for this one. Get ready for a deep dive into a case that's truly baffling and honestly pretty chilling.
Yeah, this one's gonna stay with you.
We're talking about the Costa Mesa murders, a story of double murder, manipulation, and a killer with a seriously twisted sense of theatrics.
This case, man, it really gets you thinking about the dark side of ambition.
Yeah.
The lengths people will go to for money and like the facade of a perfect life, you know?
Absolutely. And we've got a layer to the story. And let me tell you, this is not your run-of-the-mill whodunit.
Nope.
We're dealing with a guy who commits a brutal murder and then, get this, goes on to perform in a musical that same night.
Seriously. What?
Yeah.
Yeah.
The detail, it just jumps out at you, right?
It really does. It's like a bizarre detachment, almost as if the crime itself was like a performance for him.
Right. Chilling stuff. But let's start with the victims, shall we? Sam Herr and Julie Kibuishi, two young people with so much potential, their lives just brutally cut short.
It's heartbreaking.
It really is. So Sam, he was an Army vet, served in Afghanistan, came back home, and really had his life together, saved a significant amount of money. Our sources say over $62,000.
Wow. Responsible guy.
Yeah, very much so. And Julie, she was this talented dancer, known for her energy, her bright personality. Everyone just loved her.
Sounds like she was a real light in everyone's life.
Absolutely.
Mm.
And what's truly tragic is that they were close friends, but the way the initial crime scene was staged, well, it suggested something much more sinister.
Right. That's staging. It was so deliberate. An attempt to mislead the investigators.
Exactly.
Julie was found shot, clothes ripped, a message scrawled on her back, all designed to make it look like a crime of passion and to point the finger at Sam.
And it worked, at least for a while. The early assumption was that Sam was on the run, the prime suspect in Julie's murder. But Sam's parents? They knew their son.
Of course.
They knew he wouldn't hurt Julie, and their intuition, well, it was spot on.
This is where our alleged mastermind enters the picture, Daniel Wozniak. An aspiring actor, but drowning in debt, wedding coming up fast.
Desperate times, right?
Absolutely. And he saw Sam's savings as his way out, his twisted solution.
Yeah. So fueled by desperation, he lures Sam to a theater attic, a space he knew well, under the pretense of needing help moving some items.
That detail about the theater, I don't know why, but it really adds another layer. You know, premeditation. It wasn't just a random act. It was carefully planned.
Absolutely. And it gets even more chilling. After shooting Sam in the attic, Daniel dismembers his body. He then uses Sam's phone to text Julie, luring her to Sam's apartment where he kills her, stages the scene to look like a sexual assault.
Wow.
Yeah.
Just wow. So calculated. This guy was playing a deadly game using people like pawns.
It's like something straight out of a crime novel, but it really happened. And speaking of pawns, Daniel, he ropes in a teenager to withdraw money from Sam's account using his credit card. It was sloppy and ultimately led to his downfall.
Had to slip up somewhere, I guess.
Yeah, everyone makes mistakes. But before the walls closed in, Daniel really tries to spin a web of lies during his police interrogation. He claims Sam had confessed to Julie's murder and even invented this whole story about a man in a black baseball cap as the real culprit.
Oh, come on.
But then there's this pivotal moment, something that completely unravels his alibi, his slip-up about the 2 gunshot wounds to Julie's head.
The details get you every time.
That detail, revealed during the autopsy, just totally exposed his lie. It was a crucial piece of information, something that only the killer could have known.
That's when the investigators knew they had him.
Yeah, and with more and more evidence piling up, Sam's belongings found at the theater, incriminating internet searches about hiding bodies, the murder weapon given to his brother.
Oh man, his own brother.
Yeah, Daniel finally cracks.
The pressure must have been immense.
It was a long interrogation, 14 hours. But he confessed to killing both Sam and Julie, citing money and insanity as his motives.
Classic.
It's chilling to hear him describe the details of the murders almost detached, you know?
Yeah, like it didn't even faze him.
Yeah. He admitted to scattering Sam's dismembered body in a park, hoping to make identification impossible. It was a truly horrific act that showed how cold, how calculating he could be.
But as the investigation continued, the focus started to shift to Daniel's fiancée, Rachel Buffett.
Rachel, yeah. Was she more than just an accessory? Was she truly in the dark, or did her own ambition play a role in this deadly scheme?
That's the question, isn't it? Yeah, Rachel's involvement, it's tough to figure out, you know. Initially, she backed up Daniel's lies, but then as investigators dug deeper, inconsistencies popped up, strange behaviors, too.
Yeah, it's like peeling back layers of an onion with this one. Every new detail just makes you question everything.
Right, like what about that Facebook message, the one Rachel sent to Julie just hours before her death?
Yeah, what was that all about? Coincidence? Or was it a calculated move to set up an alibi?
The timing is definitely suspicious. And don't forget about how she reacted when Daniel was arrested. She wasn't worried about him, she was worried about the evidence that his brother had.
Exactly. Her priority was damage control, it seemed like.
And then there's that phone call from jail, the one they talk about in the case file video. You can practically hear the panic in her voice when she realizes it's being recorded. But what really gets me is how she tries to coach Daniel on his alibi.
It's like she was trying to play both sides, trying to protect herself while pretending to care for Daniel.
She even reveals that she knows about key evidence. That suggests a much deeper involvement than just a supportive fiancé.
Right. And most twisted, they really dig into her appearance on Dr. Phil. She goes on there trying to clear her name, trying to paint herself as a victim.
It's a classic move, but the evidence suggests something much more active, don't you think?
For sure. So let's look at that evidence. The evidence against Daniel was solid. The murder weapon, Sam stuff, the internet searches. It all pointed to him.
But with Rachel, it was all circumstantial, inconsistent statements, suspicious behavior, knowing about the evidence. It was enough to get her convicted as an accessory after the fact.
But not enough to directly link her to the murders.
Right, and that's where things get really complicated. How do we define being complicit in something like this?
It's a legal and a moral gray area. On the one hand, you could say Rachel was complicit because she didn't say anything. She didn't report what Daniel did. By helping him, she enabled him.
Yeah, but on the other hand, how do you prove what her intentions were? Was it fear? Or was she being manipulated?
Or was she driven by ambition, too? Did she want that better life no matter the cost?
Those are the questions that the jury had to wrestle with, and they came to a decision based on what they saw, but it's a decision that people are still debating today.
The case file video mentions how split public opinion was. Some people felt Rachel was a victim, too, while others thought she was totally in on it.
It just shows how complex the whole thing was. It blurs the lines, Victim, perpetrator, innocent, guilty.
But with all the legal stuff going on, we can't forget about the human cost. Sam and Julie's families, they had to deal with the unimaginable.
You can feel their pain in all of the sources.
Right. Sam's parents, Steve and Raquel, they talk about searching for him, and then the horror of finding Julie's body, and then the betrayal they felt when they learned the truth about Daniel.
And Julie's family, they had their own grief to deal with. Her mom, Junko, talks about the pain of losing Julie and the anger at Daniel for using her.
And that tiara they mentioned, it's just this small detail, but it really sticks with you. It becomes this symbol of her innocence that was taken.
It really is hard to think about everything they've lost because of what Daniel did. All the moments, the laughter, the love.
It's hard to hear, but it's important, right? Those details help us understand just how much impact these murders had.
Absolutely. It reminds us that there are real people behind all the legal stuff, people whose lives were totally changed.
And then there's the whole question of justice. Daniel was sentenced to death, but California has a moratorium on executions, so his fate is unclear.
Right.
The text excerpt mentions that Governor Newsom signed an order giving all death row inmates a reprieve.
Oh, wow. I didn't know that.
So that adds another layer of complexity to Daniel's case.
Yeah, what happens now? Is there any closure for the families?
And then get this, Daniel was moved to a lower security prison.
What? Seriously?
Yeah, it seems like Sam's dad, Steve, was completely caught off guard by this. He sees it as the system failing.
Well, yeah, I mean, it feels like Daniel isn't being held accountable for what he did.
It might make sense logistically, but it opens up those old wounds, right? And it brings back that whole debate about punishment versus rehabilitation.
A debate that's not going away anytime soon.
No, it's not. But for those families, the pain is real, and they still have so many questions. So as we head into the last part of this deep dive, let's think about the bigger picture. This case really gets you thinking, It's not just about the legal stuff. It's about human nature and the choices we make.
And how those choices affect everyone around us, like this whole idea of a better life that Daniel was after.
Yeah.
It's a good goal, right? But it can lead down a really dark path.
Definitely. And it's scary how easily we can be fooled by appearances. I mean, Daniel Wozniak seemed like a normal guy, involved in his community, doing theater.
Yeah, but underneath it all, he had this dark side. And it makes you wonder, how many other people are hiding something similar? What don't we see?
It's a chilling thought. But this case also shows how important it is to trust your gut,
Totally. Like Sam's parents, Julie's brother, they all felt like something wasn't right from the beginning. They didn't believe the story that was being told.
They refused to give up. And in the end, their persistence, their loyalty to Sam and Julie, help bring the truth to light.
It's pretty amazing. Shows the power of love, even in the face of such a horrible tragedy.
It does. And their stories remind us to appreciate the people in our lives and to really think about how our actions affect them.
For sure.
Thinking about Sam and his time in Afghanistan, it makes me think about the hidden scars of war,
Yeah.
the things people carry with them.
Sam was a decorated veteran, but he obviously had some trauma from his experiences. The nightmares, his need to save money, always being on guard. Those could all be ways of coping with a world that suddenly felt unsafe.
Right. It's heartbreaking to think that his past might have made him more vulnerable to what Daniel did.
And then Julie, this vibrant young woman, so full of life.
Yeah, she was just starting out.
It's a reminder that innocence can be so easily shattered. That detail about the tiara, it's such a powerful image.
It really is. It's hard to wrap your head around cases like this. What makes someone do something so awful? Is it something inside them? Or is it the circumstances?
I don't know, it's a question that's been around forever.
But Daniel's story, it makes you think.
It does. His money problems, his desperation, feeling like he was entitled to more, all of that played a part.
But it's still hard to understand how someone can treat another person as less than human.
Yeah. It makes you question everything you thought you knew about good and evil.
It does. But I think it also reminds us to be compassionate, even when dealing with horrible things.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
So as we wrap up this deep dive, I just want to leave you with this.
Go ahead.
What does this case teach us about ourselves? What can we learn from everyone involved, the victims, their families, even the people who did this? These are questions worth thinking about as we try to understand what it means to be human.
Yeah, some heavy stuff to ponder. The Costa Mesa murders, they're a stark reminder that our choices have a ripple effect. They touch everyone around us. It makes you look at your own values, your ambitions, and ask yourself, what am I willing to sacrifice? We hope this deep dive has given you a new perspective on this case and has left you with some things to think about. And until next time, stay curious and keep exploring those deep, dark corners of the human experience.